Good morning, guys. We apologise. We're running a little bit late this morning. Very, very naughty. Lots to talk about. Friday Frenzy. You've got Mark and I every Friday. Every Friday,
Mm,
you've got the Novaks.
mm.
So,
Why are we late?
what's happening? We're late because we had some trades that held us up a little bit, and then we looked at our watches and we were like, "Oh my God!" And then it was this literally mad Friday frenzy to run to the car to quickly do the it's just it happens.
It happens now.
Running a busy life.
You and I synced today because exactly what I wanted to talk about on Friday Frenzy is exactly what you said you wanted to talk about
Oh,
as well. Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How good's
In the
that?
shower this morning, I thought, I know the topic.
Yeah,
This is what we're paid. This is what people want to know. This is what we're passionate about. And
yeah,
you said the same thing.
yep. So
What do you know?
there's two things actually I want to talk about. One is congratulations, you did not sell in a record time.
Mm.
You know how agents always like to promote record time, record price, which we're not seeing much of that anymore at the moment anyway.
I'm seeing a lot of real estate agents hiding their sales prices.
Most are.
They're hiding their sales
Yeah,
prices. Before, we sold for this much more. How good's this? This is blah blah blah. Now it's like, shh.
yeah, that's right. So no one's disclosing prices. So if you guys are
Yep.
struggling to find what properties sold for, that's why, because generally they haven't sold for, vendors are saying, please don't let anyone know the price, or agents are going, that was not a great price. We're not going to be disclosing. But give people the facts,
Makes it
Mark.
harder for the
Just
sellers. Sellers can't find sale
give people what
prices.
they
Buyers
want.
can't find sale prices. Just tell them the price, son.
Tell them price, son.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Mark, yesterday we sold a two-bedder in DY, Oaks
Be-
Avenue. Great apartment.
Beautiful.
Beautiful apartment, all renovated. Literally, I think it was 7 apartment blocks away from the
Yep.
beachfront. Really good location, guys. So Oaks Avenue, you've got the main arterial road. For those of you that are watching that are not Northern Beaches based, you've got the main arterial road called Pittwater Road, and that cuts all the way through the Northern Beaches, the vast majority. And then you've got the streets that run perpendicular and they push down to the beachfront, to DY beachfront, and Oaks is one of those.
Yep.
So really good location.
Interesting one because at the moment people are selling for what less than what they expected. Um, it's disheartening, very, very disheartening for sellers. So the conversations that we had with this particular seller about the prices was just like, it was 100,000 less what it probably was a year ago.
Yeah.
But there was a real silver lining in the crowd.
So property was on the market for 110 days. Now, this was a two-bedroom apartment in DY. I think it's necessary to say that because I would suggest that the vast majority of real estate agents might have given up. They would have lost their mojo on a campaign that's been running for 110 days, or they would have reverted to just doing private inspections. You see that happen a lot, where the campaign's like, the campaign starts and the agent's all roaring and ready to go,
4 weeks,
super excited.
2 weeks.
And
Yep.
then 4 weeks in, they're like, no, I'm not going to do open homes anymore. We'll just drop back to Saturdays. And then you're 6 weeks in and they're just doing private inspections. You see on an ad and it says contact agent. That is my pet hate in the industry. And that's
Yep.
not a word that I use lightly.
I can't sell it.
Contact agent, I
I can't
can't
sell
deal
it. I'm
with that
trying
word.
everything I can. But
Yeah.
a lot of it also is, I think, leading to a professional is these days is stamina. These days is understanding the market. The market was traditionally a sprint sale,
Yeah.
and it was like bum, 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 sold. But there's a lot of benefits that people are seeing now because they're marathon sales. It's harder on an owner because they're opening their property up regularly. It doesn't have to be, but often owners,
Yeah.
these
Oh,
particular
God. Those
owners,
open homes are excruciating for vendors.
yeah, they are, and these particular owners needed the adjustment, or I don't know what, but they needed that, like that. The speed for them wasn't going, like, they literally didn't get their price within 4 weeks. They were ready just to pull it off the market. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And as a professional, we were saying, look, you've got to look at your changeover. If you were doing this changeover a year ago, your changeover would have been probably $1 million. So you would have had to take a mortgage of $1 million. Yes, you would have got your fabulous price, but your mortgage would have been $1 million. Now they're getting the same property, but their mortgage they're taking on is going to be 600,000 to 700,000, maybe.
Well, that's the thing. Actually, I was doing a webinar
It's
yesterday
huge.
with Tom Panos and John McGrath. And obviously no one can predict where the bottom of the market is. And I do want to get back just to the Oaks Avenue property that we sold after 110 days.
Yeah.
Sold after 110 days for a great price.
Yeah.
For a great price. Talk about resilience. Unbelievable. But they were saying that if you're buying 5% within 5% of the market being right at the bottom or the market just tipping up again, you're doing really, really well. That's the ideal. So, has the market hit rock bottom? If you're 5% out, if you feel like you're 5% out, buy. If the market's just shifted upwards again and you feel like you're sort of 5% up, that's where you should be buying as well. But, Mark, as you were saying, this is the thing that buyers are freaking out about, that the interest rates have gone up. But the bigger deal than that, the much bigger deal than that, is the financing factor, because the buyer that, has got their pre-approval and is going for their pre-approval again, sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. But, where they had $1.5 million, now if they're going for their pre-approvals again, likely they're only going to get 1.2. So what we're seeing is a lot of these buyers having to shift out of areas. So, where they were looking to buy maybe in an area like DY, they're having to shift out of those areas because they can't afford to buy there anymore.
Their ability to get the loan for the property is less than what the market's going down. Less than what the market's going down. So basically they're saying, look, we're going to wait. We're going to wait in the hope that the property price is going to go from $1 million to 900. The problem is that even if it does go from 1 million to 900, the ability to lend in this changing environment mean they can only borrow 800.
That's right.
So
that's a much bigger problem.
Huge.
So huge. Everyone's focused.
Unspoken.
But everyone's focused on those interest rate rises coming up. Your much bigger problem is how much money are you going to be able to borrow, because we hear it happen time and time again. Some deals are actually falling over because we're getting the offer accepted at a level that everyone's happy with. The buyer's running to their broker going, great, I found a property, offer accepted at 750, and the broker's going, nah, you've only got 700,000. I'm sorry. So that's a much bigger deal.
Let me check on that. So don't forget, with loans, they are as good as, I think, about 90 days is about the norm in the market. So if you do get a pre-approval, a proper pre-approval, that will last 90 days. Now, to find a property at the right price, if it takes longer than 90 days, by the time you put pen to paper, we had one, they put pen to paper 4 days out, and they didn't realise, and they're like, oh no, so they need to get an extension to cool off a lot.
So let's just go back to Oaks Ave, Mark. So two better that we sold yesterday in Oaks Avenue after 110 days and achieved a great result. The result was 885,000 for a two better in DY. Really lovely two better. They were selling easily for 1.1. Back at the peak of the market, those properties. In fact, I had sold one very similar to that for 1.15, which was a great price at the time. But 110 days, most agents would have just given up. And as we explained before, what does give up look like? It means they would have put contact agent on the ad. It means they would have just maybe been doing private inspections, or not at all. Or they would have just said to the vendor, keep the property and go rent it out. I'll call you when the market comes up.
Well, don't forget, that's also going to cost the owner more money as well, because if they re-enter the market in 6 months' time, which they will, generally people who have that intention of putting their property on the market will get that business done, whether it's not with that agent, with another agent. They'll swap, but they're going to be up for a lot of costs again. So they're going to be up for realestate.com again, photography again, floor plan again. Sometimes a good thing because it's a refresher, but I just think if you get your agent selection right up front with the person who's going to sell your property, make sure that they've got that understand that unique understanding and experience in the market. A lot of
Yeah.
agents are leaving the market. They don't know
Yep.
what's wrong with them,
Yep.
they're not doing the deals, and they're out of the marketplace. So that's, yeah, you don't want one of those agents.
But can I just say, no, not only that, but and this is probably not going to go down well with real estate agents, but if your agent suggests to you to put contact agent on your ad,
Can you expand on exactly what that means?
okay, so you go onto realestate.com and domain, and I reckon about 25% of listings just say contact agent.
No
So
price.
there's no price on there. There's no price. Now, it's in this market. I'll be honest. I've been putting, I'll never put contact agent. I'll always put a little snappy heading. But because the market is so tricky at the moment, and these property prices are literally changing week to week, I will say to a lot of my buyers, for the first week, we're not going to have a guide. We're furnishing you with comparable sales. Please let us know where you feel value sits in this property, and then I will determine the price guide, and then I will put a guide live. But I will never, ever put contact agent. It basically says, don't contact me.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know why an agent would write contact agent.
Well, I think that's the default that it goes to if you put nothing
No,
in there, isn't it? I don't know. I've got no idea.
yeah.
It means the opposite in my
in the
view.
price window, they're writing contact agent.
Yeah, which basically says don't contact me.
Of course,
don't
you've got to
contact me.
the bloody agent. I don't get it.
But so okay, if your agent says let's put contact agent in as a heading, say something to them. Say no, I definitely don't want that. Can we find something else that's a little bit snappier?
I like Luke's comment. Contact agent is good for buyers agents.
I love that. And also, if your agent suggests to only just do the private appointments, no. Big fat no. Buyers love to know
Or
that.
if your seller suggests it.
Or if your seller suggests it, yeah. Actually, I had a seller suggest it to me the other day. They said, we just want to do privates, and I said, look, here's how that looks for you. I ring you every day going, oh, can I bring Mark in at 3? Can I bring Lisa in at 4? And it ends up being a massive inconvenience because maybe the property's just not ready. At least with the open homes,
Keep the pressure on.
yeah, but you also know exactly when we're turning up. The buyers know exactly when to come.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was weird, Mark, when I first got into sales. I was like, why Wednesdays during the day? That's such an odd time and day.
We've pretty much trained people. I think
We have trained
Eastern
people,
Suburbs
yeah.
has trained people, I think, for Thursdays.
Yeah. But guess what? People are working from home as well.
Yeah.
So often Wednesdays became busier than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do work from home.
Yeah, they have been.
But they are trained.
Just another tip as well. If you're a buyer out there on the back of, we're talking about properties on the market, you can do, on realestate.com, you can do most recent.
Yes.
Which then means when you go to the last page of most recent, it's the oldest property that's on the market. So I actually don't mind, as a buyer or a consumer, I don't mind searching the stinky old stock and then going in there and being opportunistic. You may find, it may sound a bit predatory, but yeah, on realestate.com, I think that's a great thing to do as a buyer. Go on there, search for the old stuff on your drop down, which is your most recent, and then go to the last one and look at your suburb, and I reckon ring the golden oldies and have a hack, have an offer. The agent's going to be a bit buggered and tired, the vendor's going to be a bit buggered and tired. Use that as an opportunity.
But Luke's also saying, just back to private inspections, they're good for buyers agents because often those open times are hard to get to. Totally understand.
Yeah.
Look, a great agent is going to move heaven and earth to get you through a property. If it's vacant, there is absolutely no reason why an agent cannot come and show you that property at any time of the day or night. Seriously. So, that's the reality of it. Yes, we've got the open times, but of course we're always willing and able to get you through the vast majority of properties.
Do you know what no one does?
What?
Puts people on hold.
What do you mean?
I'll call you back.
No one puts people on
No one
hold.
puts people on hold anymore. The way, like, buyer rings up, I'd like to see this property at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Agent says, I'll organise that for you and I'll call you
Call you
back.
back.
Whereas good agent says, do you mind if I put you on hold and I'll find out for you? Good agent says, just spoke to the owner. Yep, that's fine. See you then. Done.
Yeah.
So I think that whippiness, or that we're losing a lot. I think we're creating more work for ourselves with bloody
Yeah.
sometimes SMSs
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, no,
It's
I think
true.
that's what we got to do. Be nice and snappy.
It's true. So there you go, guys. Just wrapping up on that property sale, 110 days on market. We did achieve the vendor a wonderful price
Yep.
in a really tricky market.
Yep.
But resilience and hard work, the vendor, you can only imagine, they ended up getting a price that they were super happy with. The purchaser got a property they're super happy with.
Yeah.
Sure, it took a long time to sell the property,
Yeah.
but the reality of it is it was sold after 110 days. I don't know that there'd be many agents out there. Not, I know in regional, guys, for anyone that's watching, I know that's quite normal in your areas. But certainly in our areas, in the metro, that's extraordinarily long.
Is it okay?
What?
100 days? Does it have to be 100 days?
Look, is it okay? I think the end result is the main thing. I think days on market at the moment is totally irrelevant. I think it's the result, and was everyone happy at the end of it? That's what matters.
I've got to say, sometimes it's necessary for the journey for the seller, to realise where the value is and to be convinced where the value is, because in that campaign there was about 120 odd buyers through the property through that period, and I think the seller sort of came to their own resolution that was strangled, pushed, hustled, squeezed out.
But the reality of it was, and I'm always saying this to my vendors, it's not like we had 100 buyers lining up down the street, even with $850,000 in their hands. So it really wasn't, the clearance sale that you might think it was. The buyers vote. They truly do vote with their offers and where they see value in a property. They really do.
100%.
They really do.
And if you price the property correctly, that was a market where I don't think it was priced correctly because the market was moving quicker.
It was a sliding market.
Do you know what I mean? So it was a sliding market. So when it actually hit the market, it wasn't far off, but there was this slide. So I think sometimes, it doesn't have to be that long on the market. You just price correctly and you walk out the door.
Well,
but some owners do want or need that price exploration at a higher price point, which then means it's a 30 or a 60 or a 90-day sale, purely for the owner's comfort. And you know what? They're paying the bill. They're the ones cutting the check to the agent that's selling. So if they require you to go on at a higher price point to test the market, it's your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is. Obviously, we've always got to go off vendor instructions. But, a lot of people have been saying, what is market value? And market value is really important in this market because we need to understand, did we get a price at market value? Did we get a price below market value? Or did we achieve a price above market value? So market value is when the buyers, I call them the judges, right, come through an open home and we hear this figure coming up over and over and over again. We understand that is market value. So I've got a really great apartment market at the moment in Collaroy. It's a two-bedder. I would have thought it is an awesome apartment. I would have thought that was a high sevens, low eights apartment any day of the week, even in this market. The buyers, they tell us something else.
Yeah.
They tell us that based on other properties that they've seen and based on the amount of renovations that are required in that property, market value sits at about 750,000. As crazy as that seems. But independently, the buyers, the judges come through and they vote with their information or their offers independently of any other party that's coming through.
Yep.
So that helps us to understand market value.
Yep.
So when we get the offer that is above market value, we can report that to the vendor and say, look, guys, this is what the market's telling us. It seems like a good price in this market. It seems to be above market value, and it helps everyone understand. But usually we can quite quickly ascertain exactly where market value sits by asking the right questions to those judges.
Passion. It's passion.
I love it. I love what I do.
It's passion.
I love what I do. Absolutely love it.
That's a show.
Is it? That's it. God, that was quick.
That's Friday Frenzy,
Yeah.
and guys, have a great weekend ahead of us. Hopefully, we're going to see lots of people out there on Saturday.
Yeah.
Your tips?
My tips are just buy now, guys. Again, if you've got your finance approved, like I cannot stipulate it enough, that is where we're seeing the wheels fall off at the moment. The buyers are taking way too long to make decisions. They're waiting for that perfect unicorn property, and then they're going back to their broker or their bank saying, "Great news, we found something," and the bank's going, "Bad news for you. You can't borrow as much as you thought." So yeah, buy now, as Luke says, buy now.
And we're with a property
Yours?
magnate last night,
Yeah,
having a bit of a chat about what the property market's been
yes,
doing. And it's interesting. It came back to, for me, it came back to essential. If it's essential to sell, if it's essential to buy, that's the business that's being done. There's no luxury stuff. Obviously, that top end, that top 2%, 5%, and whatever, it's outside of the norm. But for the majority of people, the people that are doing a deal at the moment, it's essential for them to get out, or it's essential for them to get in. If you want to work out what the market's doing, work out what's essential.
yep. People will always need to buy and sell property. That's the reality of it. See you guys. Have a great day.
Take care.